Are you ready for this market shift? What I'm talking about is the Fed meeting today, which will have a very big impact on the markets. What Powell is about to say in this meeting is going to affect the markets greatly. Right now, I'm seeing the markets flat, stock markets actually up ahead of the meeting, but I think the markets are actually on high alert until it ends, okay, until this meeting ends in a couple of hours. Very important to be paying attention to what Powell says in that speech, okay? Also, we are what I'm seeing in the CME watch tool, which is a pretty accurate predictor of what the Feds do with their rates. It favors a September rate cut. Okay, so anything delaying that is going to be bad news for the markets. I'm going to be talking to you guys about what I'm personally doing right now with my portfolio. We're also going to be getting into some altcoins, which it will include Zebec Network, ZBCN, Terra Luna Classic, and TARS AI. See what's going on in these markets, what has changed since the last time I've talked about them, some new price targets and setups, of course, later in this video, usually after the 10-minute mark. So if you guys actually want to skip through what I'm talking about here, you guys can, but I highly don't recommend it because Bitcoin is the main driver of this market. And if Bitcoin pumps, well, that's going to be good for the altcoins. However, if Bitcoin dumps, you can expect the altcoins to be following. So, very important to be paying attention to the Bitcoin chart first, regardless of what altcoins you guys are holding. That is my personal opinions. Of course, none of what I'm saying here is financial advice. Do your own due diligence. Let's go ahead and get into some news first. Major crypto news. This will affect the altcoins. This is by Cointelegraph. Bitcoin eyes 105K pre FOMC meeting as Trump reviews reviews Iran asked for dialogue. So this is definitely good because if there is going to be war in the Middle East, that could jack up the oil prices, which would put upward pressure on inflation, which would possibly delay a rate cut because the Fed is looking at inflation as one of the key indicators for a cut. Um, so that is definitely good news for the markets. Okay, I think that's probably what pumped the markets earlier today. We had Bitcoin almost at about 105K. Now kind of coming back down. Our next one here is gonna be by Crypto Potato. Bitcoin price analysis. Bitcoin consolidation continues, but bearish signs flash. I mean, I'm not really seeing the bearish signs. The only bearish sign I am seeing is the RSI on the monthly time frame, which if we actually refer back to which is a bearish sign. I mean, don't get me wrong, that is a that's bearish divergence on the monthly time frame. Okay, that is the only one I am seeing. If you guys are seeing anything else, you guys can put it in the comment section below. But during major breakouts, and I'm talking about the one back in December 2020, bearish divergence on the monthly time frame has been invalidated. So, it could be an exception if we're going to get a breakout. Other than that, I'm still seeing some pretty bullish signs on the lower time frames from the weekly time frame down. All right, next one is going to be by News BTC. Researchers forecast Bitcoin at 4.3 million by 2036, citing institutional demand. I mean, that's way too long ahead to be keeping track of. I mean, it's just way too long. I've only been in this game for over 5 years. So another 11 years, that's gonna be a long time. And from a trader's perspective, where I try to scalp and trade more on a short term basis, it's gonna feel like forever. So I mean, it sounds like it's bullish, but I just I'm a short-term trader. Okay, so I'm looking more on maybe even the weekly, monthly at the most, right? Maybe even just a few months into the future. So 11 years could be a long time, but it sounds bullish. All right, Tether. This is gonna be by B in crypto. Tether mints $1 billion USDT ahead of FOMC liquidity signals for Signal or BTC Catalyst. So, pretty interesting news here. I think whenever Tether mints, that should be pretty bullish for the crypto markets as a whole. That tells me that there is more participants coming into the markets. All right, next one is by Crypto Potato. Bitcoin could reach 205K in 2025 if historic growth cycle holds. I don't disagree with this. I think 205K is definitely in the cards by 2025, by the end of this year. And I am looking. I'm basing this based on the monthly RSI because we're nowhere near a FOMO RSI reading like we had back in the 2021 bull cycle and 2017 bull cycle. We're not even in overbought territory, so there's quite a bit of room to go for Bitcoin. All right, let's come back here to the charts. Now, I just want to say that these news headlines, I have pulled them from TradingView. You guys can look at news. You guys can look at other traders sharing their ideas. And of course, the most importantly, you guys can use the charts and their indicators. That's how I learn technical analysis. That's how I learn how to read the charts for myself. If you guys actually want to read the charts and learn technical analysis and have your own opinions without, you know, really having to listen to anyone else anymore, because I really just look at the charts for myself, definitely check out TradingView. I have an affiliate link in the description section below. If you guys get a plan with my link, I will get a commission, and that supports my channel. Thank you very much. They have plans for under 20 bucks. That's, one profitable trade probably for you guys, even if you're trading with a very small bag. And of course, if you guys want to learn technical analysis, make sure to subscribe and comment and like this video. I will get you guys up to speed. Let's go ahead and go to the charts here. Right now, on the daily time frame, still what I'm paying attention to is, of course, the symmetrical triangle pattern. It usually favors the direction of right before the pattern forms, and in this case, it is the up. It is an upward direction. In this case, if it breaks out, it's still intact. Okay, it almost looked like it was gonna break down yesterday, but it still stayed intact. And this usually breaks, in the direction that precedes it. If it breaks out by this point, for example, the price target here is gonna be about 122K. That would take Bitcoin out of this cup and handle pattern that we can also notice on the weekly time frame, of course, that we've been talking about for quite some time. And the price target out of this cup and handle pattern is going to be about 145K. Very important to know that price targets are only estimates. It could be more, it could be less. What I usually do is if the price action breaks out, I will continue to chart the pattern and see if it's going to be pulling back or if it's going to continue upwards. But right now, I would say that Bitcoin is still looking bullish because we're still in bullish consolidation. If this pattern actually breaks down, the next level of key support I'll be looking at will be the 3-day 21 SMA, currently at about 100 and almost 103K now. Well, actually, just a little bit above 102K here, the blue line. All right, let's go over here to stock market. ES1 exclamation mark, very important chart to be paying attention to because I talked about a rising wedge breakdown that did break down, but a very short breakdown, right? Nowhere near its breakdown targets, and price action just recovered and basically invalidated that rising wedge pattern. That's very bullish for the for risk on mass assets, especially for Bitcoin because this is highly correlated with Bitcoin. So very important to be paying attention to this chart as well. Right now, it looks like it's basically bouncing back from that previous resistance now on the daily time frame. If you guys can see this, right? Um, so let's see if it actually makes it higher high here and invalidates some of these bearish divergence signals. Also, going to be very important to be paying attention to what Powell says, of course. All right, let's go over here to ZBCN first. Zebec network. See what's going on in this market. Okay. All right. So I want to talk about this because last time I mentioned that there was a falling wedge pattern. I adjusted that pattern because I see a bigger pattern that is actually in play now. Okay. It's a falling wedge pattern still. It's going to be a very common pattern you guys will see if you guys actually start charting the markets, which is also a very important pattern to see. It's one of my favorite patterns to trade because that tells me after an extensive downtrend, it has been weakening. Because if you guys actually look, the in the beginning of the pattern, there was a lot more movement. That's how I reason. And then when it gets to the close of the pattern, uh, the bearish strength actually weakens because the range actually tightens, and that's where I usually look for opportunities for a breakout, right? I mean, you could buy the breakouts, but that is just that's also riskier than buying within the pattern closer to the bottom of the pattern. Okay, now that is just me personally, not financial advice. Okay, of course, it does also have to come with some planning, right? What would you do if you're wrong? If it breaks out, where would you take profits? Those questions are some common questions to think about. In this case, 4 hour time frame, this market actually broke out, which it usually does. If we see a falling wedge, price target is going to be about 0.7 cents. Broke out a couple of days ago, and it's still a valid breakout. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing for ZBCN. And basically, if we actually come to the weekly time frame, what this market has been doing is basically consolidating above its price targets of that cup and handle pattern here, okay? Which is about 0.38 cents. Okay, it's been consolidating above that. So let's see what this market does, right? We can come back here and look at this again enough if you guys want to see it. So make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe, letting me know that you guys want to keep seeing ZBCN. Let's go over here to TAI, which is TARS AI. See what's going on in here. All right, last time I talked about a falling wedge pattern. Okay, it's still valid, even though it looks like it's actually breaking down, which, this pattern usually breaks to the upside, but there, of course, is still a chance that it could break down, which it's looking like that's what's trying to do right now. Okay, the highest time frame where this falling wedge pattern is still valid, I think it's going to be on the 3-day time frame. Right, we still have 3 candle touches on each side of the pattern. If we actually get a solid candle close below this bottom trend line, then this falling wedge gets invalidated. Okay. However, if on the 3-day time frame, this candle becomes a wick and actually ends up back into the pattern, I will still consider this to be a valid pattern and a potential breakout of a price target. Let's just move this measure move down a little more because it's probably not going to happen today. It's still going to give you a price target of about 15.7 cents here if it breaks out by this point. So very important to see what this price action does from the 3-day time frame down, and see if this pattern is still valid or gets invalidated. If it breaks down, the next key levels of support you could potentially be looking at is one is going to be at 8.2 cents, about 8.2 cents, where I'm seeing these solid candle closes that indicates previous solid support, and then some of these wicks here that indicates, just a wick support, okay, at about 7.5 cents, and then of course a very steep down to about just right underneath 6 cents there. If it continues breaking down and see potential bounces at those levels. All right, let's go over here to Terra Luna Classic. See what has gone on in this market. All right. This is a bigger altcoin. Okay, it's like top 200 by market cap. So it's not going to move by as much as some of these smaller altcoins. Okay. Of course, it's, in my opinion, less riskier than the smaller altcoins. Now let's see here. What's going on in this market? Okay, it had a breakdown of this rising wedge pattern. Still valid breakdown, right? Until we actually get, in my opinion, a daily candle close above the breakdown point, which was about 0.00006. Okay, actually, we did. We did actually get a solid. I mean, that's not a solid candle close, actually. We need a more solid candle close. That's just a very slight candle close, in my opinion, right? 0.00006. We get a daily candle close, solid daily candle close above that. I would consider this to be invalidated, this rising wedge. It did break out of a falling wedge, however. Price target out of this one is going to be about 0.00007. Okay. Formed a smaller falling wedge since it actually broke out of it. That could be more seen on the 4-hour time frame. And if it breaks out by this point, it's going to be about 0.00064. Okay. So that's what I'm seeing for Terra Luna Classic from just a little bit higher time frame down to the smaller time frames here. All right, that basically wraps it up for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Letting me know what you guys want to see. I'll pick one request to do every day for you guys. I'll see you guys next time.